this is Dan. I want to give you an update about what outreach was done over the weekend of January the 24th and 25th, 2026, here in Los Angeles, CPI Los Angeles. And it was one of those weekends where we obviously had things pre-planned, and there's always spontaneity with that, but there was additional spontaneity as well that I want to report some on. Primarily, though, of course, Shen Yun, which is something that goes on tour every year and comes to the Los Angeles area in the wintertime every year, and LA specifically downtown in January. And of course, just looking at this, it starts from here, right? You look at this and it says China before communism, and then in the bottom here it talks about a beautiful heavenly experience. And it is, it's a beautiful experience of dancing and music from a period of time in Chinese history that is a spectacle to watch. Calling it a beautiful heavenly experience. So what does that mean, right? And as we talked to people last year, they said, well, this is the China before communism, or a beautiful heavenly experience. This is, we're focusing on the cultural thing and the beautiful thing that is like. And we said, well, obviously by the use of the words here, just on this alone, it's obviously got political connotations. And the whole thing is a very political thing. Falun Gong, which is an organization involved in this process, does have a history of supposedly the practitioners live by the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. Okay, that's and then the Chinese herbs and Tai Chi. It's all interesting, but is that all there is to it? Well, before I get into that, I want to talk about how the day started. We were meeting in Grand Park in downtown Los Angeles, and as it turned out, that was an outreach opportunity right there. There was a gathering of people there for the support of a candidate running for the LA City attorney, right? And so that brought out a lot of groups like the DSA, also the Working Families Party, the SCIU Union, Forward Now, which I think is another party. And of course there were canvassers. Canvassers always come to these events to get signatures for various bills going on the ballot. There was one to tax CEOs more, and that kind of thing, and some that I think had already signed, and just, but that opened up conversations because these people will approach you. I ran into somebody I interviewed about 10 years ago on my cable access television show, who at the time was running for office, first as I think a Democratic Party candidate, and then he switched to Green Party in the LA area. Since that time, he got involved in a city race, and he's now actually the LA controller, which is basically the accountant for LA. And I ran into him. He did take a palm card, and he told me he'd never heard of Caleb Maupin, but he would check into it. He would check it out. So that was interesting. We had conversations also with a Ukrainian American running for mayor of LA, which was very interesting, and gave him a palm card. As I mentioned, the canvassers, there were a couple that I talked to and gave them palm cards with an email where they can contact me. And that's where it started. So we're here and we have our signs. China before communism was feudalism, and as you can see right here. And the U.S. does need to join BRICS rather than fight economic development. We need economic development, and we have our. Okay, thanks. So.
Outside the bars or what do you mean?
Oh, okay.
It's right here. It's behind this building.
Okay,
There's
perfect.
benches over there.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the performance will resume in 10 minutes.
Okay, so we're at intermission time right now. What were you saying just a moment ago, Ishmael?
Yeah, he was talking about the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yes, I'm talking about the BRI, or Belt and Road Initiative, and the reason why I think the U.S. should join that is because we need economic development, and clearly our government doesn't care.
Yeah.
So China cares more about us than the U.S. government, evidently.
Yeah, exactly. But that's propagandized. They don't want the American people to really understand that, right?
And then on these signs, well, your sign's better, even better, but China before communism is feudalism.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what you see the people going to the show. It's intermission time, so we're walking around getting some coffee. People are looking at the sign, as you can see. So maybe we'll get approached here. The main thing is that people can read it and see what's going on. Oh, he's smiling. An exact figure, 80 million people were killed, and his family members that were part of that. Yeah, and we acknowledge there were bad things, but now it's focused on economic development, and our country's focused on war and imperialism.
In the U.S., they would have ran more. Oh, they would have murdered us.
And people are looking at the sign and they're reading it. It's getting a lot of looks.
Minnesota just killed the guys, and Minnesota just killed another man.
I killed the second person.
Basically, it was a conquista.
Spraying their own map.
Because they told themselves that you're European.
Oh, that was. They want to be white.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. A lot of Chinese people and also others that took pictures of it. They were looking at it, staring at it, seemed perplexed. We did have a few conversations with people, although one of them I had to initiate the conversation. And there always does seem to be this well, my grandfather was there and there were 80 million people that were killed by not the Chinese government, but specifically the Communist Party. And it's just, it's always the same kind of rhetoric. And so we've learned that the next time, as we experience this more and more, and there will be more Shen Yun performances in the area in the coming month or so, and I guess it's going around the country. It will be in Minnesota in March. We realized that one thing we can do is, first of all, say, where did your father or grandfather get that information, and so that we can actually look it up and confirm that number, 80 million or whatever it is, because that's even a difficult thing to do with the U.S. westward expansion, the basically genocide of the indigenous people here, as we were creating the Industrial Revolution, moving westward, and then of course the slaves brought in from Africa. You know, what are those numbers? Do we have those numbers? Did anybody do that research? Is it available out there somewhere? So it's there's things that we can definitely say, like, you know, show us the evidence of that. You know, just don't just throw a number out like that, you know, because anybody can tell you anything, and especially if it's a relative that, you know, and don't get me wrong, horrible things do happen in all cultures and throughout history and things like that, and I'm not condoning that or saying it's better for one culture over another. I'm just saying we should be able to have a civil conversation and be honest about the fact, well, we don't really know how many millions of people when it comes right down to it. I mean, this person was even saying, yeah, but it wasn't as bad here. That's just a belief system. You got to have more facts to verify than just to say something like that. You can believe whatever you want, like religion. That doesn't make it a fact. Or at least get as close as you can to the fact, you know? But also it's important to have a civil conversation, and all the people that we did communicate with, we had a civil conversation with, including a young couple, and the female, she said, so do you have a problem with Falun Gong? Do you not like the Tai Chi or the way they practice medicine, like with herbs? And I said, no, I've actually tried Chinese herbs. I like them. And I think Tai Chi is good exercise. I think it's kind of cool. So she said, so you have a problem with the politics then? Their politics or whatever? And I said, yes. And I mean, I could do another series of videos on this, you know, about the Uyghurs, about the so-called, you know, organ harvesting and that kind of thing, and the Canadians and Americans basically that, you know, claim to have the facts. You know, there's even a book called The Slaughter by Ethan Gutman, and I'd have to do more research. You know, like I said, there's bad people in every culture, but just to say, okay, organ transplant, Communist Party, putting those two together, I mean, you got to do more research than that. You can't just make these assumptions that it's the Communist Party, and not, even if it was factual, certain people did these things, and they claimed to be communists. Well, how much were they involved? And it's not the whole party doing that. So that's clearly propaganda, which is tied into China before communism. And you're trying to imply that somehow it was this beautiful society. You know, well, look what we've got going on here in this with the Epstein case, and you know, everybody in power here is doing everything in their power to for those files to not be made public, so there's I mean, anyway, but going on to the rest of the day was very good. We just kind of hung out. Some of us hung out, and we also saw another member, comrade Patrick, and his band play not too far away, actually, downtown on Saturday night, and that was a lot of fun to see him and talk to him. The next day, we had more activism. Stephen actually came from San Diego this time. The people were coming out of the afternoon performance on Sunday afternoon, and there's two things I have to add here that were different from last year. Number one, we weren't approached by people that were obviously Falun Gong. That didn't happen this time. And the second thing that I noticed that was different was last year we were there after an evening performance on Saturday, and there was no evening performance this year. Apparently, maybe they didn't sell enough tickets. That's interesting. But we also were approached by a security guard on Saturday whose concern was more about whether, you know, we were smoking, I guess. I don't know. But that was it. But on Sunday, and the video will speak for itself here, as you'll see, it actually helped us to, because we were actually, the first day, we were kind of staying away from the actual, entrance, and exit, where people are coming in and out of the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, because we didn't want to be rude, right? We just wanted to kind of do what I would call modeling or model lurking, and have this message, where people can see it, and of course we had our economic message too, the 4-point economic plan, which I want to get into in a minute as well. And so there were no real conversations except with the security guard, and you'll hear what he had to say. He was concerned about how it might incite a reaction from someone, and using that kind of angle. It sounded like it came out of the ICE playbook. But he was nice to us. It was very civil. He said, I'll have to talk to my boss to see if there's concern about that, if you can continue doing this. And as you'll see obviously from the video, apparently he couldn't get a hold of his boss and nothing happened, and he just kind of didn't even really, he just said he couldn't get a hold of his boss, and that was it, and kind of walked away. And so, that put us in a situation where we could be right up to the doors, and you could see the looks on some people's faces, like they seem perplexed or not interested or whatever. But the way we looked at it is that, once you see something, an image of something, more likely than not, it's already there in your brain, and you can't remove that, right? Unless there's some serious denial. So that also is very, very interesting. In addition to that, we did have spontaneous moments with our sign, the new sign for the economic plan. Just in the few days that we've rolled that out, people have been taking pictures of it. Even some people visiting from the UK, and a couple of young activists that went to another kind of ICE thing. I don't think it was at the ICE headquarters, when Caleb was here. Another location, maybe where people are being held in detention, I don't know. But we were able to talk about, when we were in Brooklyn, we were there for Maduro, and as far as we knew, we were the only group that was outside. I mean, there were opportunities to have a lot of conversations with people about what we've been doing, and to give people palm cards, where they can contact us with an email address. And very productive weekend, very interesting weekend. Just got to continue doing it, and as much as you can in your communities. I know the weather has been pretty crazy. We're experiencing unseasonably warm temperatures again, it seems. So it offers us a lot of opportunities to continue to do outreach, as we will this week. So I'll update more, obviously, in our weekly meetings, but this was important for me to share this information with you, along with the video clips. So I'll end with this clip from the second day at Shen Yun, and have a great day. Peace now.
Okay, Steve and I are here now, literally right up to the front door, and we were approached by a security guy who's checking with his boss, even though we were here yesterday, sitting at a table, as you see from the other video, right over here. And actually, this is working out better for us because we're right by the front door as people are coming out. We were actually being respectful yesterday and staying a distance away, and now we're here actually allowed to be at the front door while he goes talking to his boss to see if we can have a sign here that says China before communism was feudalism, and the USA should join BRICS. And so even though we were here yesterday and it was no problem, but actually this is an advantage because we're actually closer to the venue. You can see the chandeliers inside the building there. So this is obviously a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. The sign there, it says. So getting people's reactions as they're coming out. People are reading the signs. So yeah.
China before communism was feudalism. Right?
It was feudalism. That is a fact.
Everything.
Yeah.
Certainly wasn't a good thing.
So is that
Certainly wasn't a good thing.
that's what we're looking at? That's what you're looking at today. It was an era of time where kings and queens were running China. They still had famines, still had millions of people dying. Before communism. So, and
Controlled by the landlord.
yeah, yep, that's right. That's what feudalism is. You had a poor class of people, and then people at the top that had so much more wealth than everybody else. So, of course, millions of people died in those circumstances. So, this is interesting to see, be this close, and, getting people's reactions as they're looking at it. And it's a psychological thing. People are looking at it, and it goes into their brain. It's like once you see something, right, Stephen?
Yeah.
You can not unsee it. So if you give people the truth, they've seen it,
That's true.
and they cannot unsee it.
Yeah.
It's food for thought.
It certainly is food for thought, I think.
And I know tickets for this are really expensive.
How much? Like 100?
In the hundreds, probably.
Yeah.
The average person can't afford that. Where we went last night to see a really good rock band was $5 to see, 3 or 4 bands, although two in particular were really good, but only $5. So.
We certainly make a lot of money off these showings, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a multi-billion-dollar
My question is,
business.
who controls Shen Yun? Like, who owns it?
That's a good question.
Who's developed the
Falun Gong is the group that promotes it.
Falun Gong promotes it?
But they do have a political agenda. Why else would they put China before communism as their main tagline year
Right.
after year?
Yeah, they clearly have.
You know what I mean? They clearly have a political agenda. And they'll tell you that it's not a political agenda. It's cultural. The beautiful dancing and costumes and music, But I told people last year, like as you can see in the video if you go back, well, maybe in your interpretation it's cultural, but in this country, when a critical thinking person is going to look at that and say that's political, not cultural, right? That's kind of like saying Karl Marx, he had a philosophy,
Right.
but it was really economic theory,
Yeah.
not really a philosophical concept
Yeah.
of society.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of was that, but it was economically based.
Right. It was.
So you can't leave that aspect out if you're a critical thinker, that is. So, yeah. Very interesting. So we're still waiting. We're here waiting for his boss, to tell us whatever it is that they certainly didn't tell us yesterday. The table where we were sitting is vacant again, but we might as well stay here since we're here, right? So you have to wait for him to come back anyway. So this is CPI outside the final Shen Yun performance here at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, downtown Los Angeles, where a lot of theater and ballet and symphonic music happens. Cultural center for the elite, basically.
Yeah,
You're not
basically.
going to see a lot of lower middle class people here. That is for sure. So, unlike it is in other cultures that are actually more, I'm going to use the word, probably they're more innovationist,
Yeah.
put it that way.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, if you catch my drift.
Right.
Yeah. So you see that gentleman there, it was a classic, that's the classic look that we were getting yesterday. They're reading it. And we are creating an image there for them to think about.
Right.
You cannot unsee it.